there is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between shadow and light, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is a dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone. Hi, I'm Lenny, and wait a second. Something seems off here. Why is everything still in black and white? All right, hang on. Let me make a slight adjustment. Let me change this. Hang on. That's more like it. So, let's get started here. Hello, I'm Lenny, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about the Twilight Zone, the 2019 version of the Twilight Zone, which is available on CBS All Access. New Twilight Zone, which we'll call it, was available on CBS All Access on April 1st, 2019. It was not an April Fool's joke. Jordan Peele was the executive producer and plays the narrator in each episode, kind of stepping in and filling in for the great and legendary Rod Sterling role, or our part, as he was our narrator. He was the storyteller that led us into and out of each episode of the classic Twilight Zone. There are 10 episodes here altogether. One episode was released each week. 2 episodes available right away: The Comedian and Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. Then after each week, a new episode appeared, giving us a total of 10 episodes. Ever since I was a kid, I've been in love with the Twilight Zone. Each year, I look forward to watching the Twilight Zone marathon, usually on the Sci-Fi Channel. It usually happens on New Year's Eve and 4th of July. That is normally when you get the 24-hour Twilight Zone marathon. Interesting thing about this is I'll watch this every year, even though I have the original Twilight Zone series on DVD. I have the 1980s revival of the Twilight Zone on DVD, and some of the episodes and most of the seasons are available on Netflix for streaming. So even though I've seen these episodes thousands and thousands and thousands of times, I'll watch the marathon every time it's on. I love the Twilight Zone. I love the film version of it that came out in 1983. I've been in love with the Twilight Zone ever since I was a kid. There's just something about it, something that sucked me in. I love the old black and white versions. Writing was fantastic, and you can see how it inspired some people, such as like M. Night Shyamalan, who early on in his career was known for that twist surprise ending, which is very, very classic Twilight Zone. There's always some kind of revelation that happens at the end. Maybe it's something that you already figured out, maybe it isn't, but that was what's so mind-blowing about the Twilight Zone, especially watching it as a kid. I had no, concept of reveal ending up until something as iconic as that, watching the Twilight Zone. Jordan Peele has come a long way. He is making quite a name for himself. You may be familiar with Jordan Peele. He actually started out on Mad TV in 2003. Of course, he had the Key and Peele show, which was very popular on Comedy Central. In 2017, Jordan Peele wrote and directed Get Out, which was a success, which is a great movie. And in 2019, he followed up Get Out with Us, which he also wrote and directed, which is, both of these films are amazing. He knocked the ball out of the park on both of them. He is brilliant. I see his name attached to something, I know that I am in for a hell of a ride. Someone that gets it, that someone who knows what they're doing and understands the genre that they're aiming for right off the bat. I was very, very impressed with the series, The Twilight Zone. Usually I'm kind of skeptical when things get revived or renewed. I enjoyed watching this. It was a lot of fun. It reminded me of what it was like to come across the classic episodes and seeing them for the first time and wondering what was going to happen and trying to figure out like the twist of what was going on. The running time for these episodes, it varies between 37 minutes and 56 minutes long. I'm going to discuss the episodes that stuck out to me that I thought were the best out of the 10 available episodes altogether. And I felt like the series starts out very promising with the first episode called The Comedian. A struggling comedian named Samar Wasan meets his idol, suggests to Samir that he should put more personal material into his routine, into his set. So Samir, taking this advice that is given to him from this idol that he places on a pedestal, does this, and he starts getting the results and the laughs and the fame that he wants. But there's something that comes with that, as with most things. Samir is finding out during these sets, when he starts including this personal information into his routine and he's getting these laughs, whatever personal information that he has put in erases that person. It's as if they never existed ever, as if they were never born. So what happens when you're willing to trade life, or people's lives, for fame? And that's a very interesting concept, and that's how we start to show off. And that's what we deal with in The Comedian, which I think is very well done. Second episode is Nightmare at 30,000 Feet. Now, this is not the first time that we've actually come across this episode. In the classic Twilight Zone, starred William Shatner as a paranoid flyer who believes that he sees a gremlin on the wings of the plane trying to destroy the engine and crash the plane. We also revisit this story in the 1983 film version of The Twilight Zone. This time, the paranoid schizophrenic flyer is played by John Lithgow. And with modern technology and updates, you know, the gremlin looks a lot better on the wing, though I do miss the teddy bear looking gremlin from the classic episode. Dude looks like a teddy bear, Teddy Ruxpin, human Ewok. I mean, right? Right? Kind of looks like, yeah. You see it. You get it. The cool thing about this new version is it's the title and the premise is the same. The outcome is very, very different. Adam Scott plays the paranoid schizophrenic flyer. You may be familiar with Adam Scott from Parks and Recs and also Step Brothers, among other things. But this version of Nightmare at 30,000 Feet does not end and does not play out the way that you think it will. And that's exciting. That's very cool. So I appreciate and like what they did there with the episode. Episode 3. So the first 3 episodes right off the bat are amazing. This one is called Replay, and this one's a very powerful episode. There's a social awareness to this episode right now, and it's relevant. Nina Harrison is driving her son to college, and while they're on the road, they stop off at a diner where they encounter a racist state trooper named Lasky. Lasky profiles the family, gives them a hard time, and what happens is Nina's son Dorian ends up getting shot and killed by Lasky. With this camcorder that she has, Nina accidentally hits the rewind button, which rewinds the events of time and puts them at the very beginning of the diner again. So no matter what Nina Harrison does, no matter how she tries to change these events, her son keeps getting killed by the state trooper in different fashions and in different ways. Even if they skip the diner, even if they try to take a different route, even if they hide out at a motel, Lasky always finds them. Dorian always ends up getting killed. So Nina is frantically rewinding the day, rewinding these events, and desperately trying to find a way out of this situation. And this episode is really well done. It's really powerful. It has a relevant social message to it. Episode 5 is called The Wonder Kind, and this stars John Cho. John Cho plays a campaign manager named Raph Hanks. And Raph Hanks fails to get the current president, who's very unpopular, reelected. And this ruins his career. He gets fired. Years later, we run into Raph, who's sitting in a bar, who comes across a news article talking about an 11-year-old boy named Oliver Foley, who is a YouTube sensation. He's a YouTube star. Hey, YouTube, this is almost meta. Talking about YouTube within an episode of The Twilight Zone. Crazy. While on his YouTube channel, Oliver declares that he wants to run for president, that he would make a great president, and that people should vote for him. Raph sees this, sees the reaction to this, and decides that he is going to approach this family to see if he can become the campaign manager for the 11-year-old Oliver, because this is his shot at fame and redemption. This is what he's been waiting for. He's looking for something to take him to the heights of fame. He just really cares about being the best within the political game, regardless of what the president stands for or what their convictions are. It's more about Raph getting what he wants more so than the American people getting what they want, and him pushing a president that he believes in. So Raph tracks down the family. He convinces the family that they honestly should allow Oliver to run for president, and they should allow him to be his campaign manager, which they do. Now, this is a very classic episode in the sense of you need to be careful what you wish for, especially when you're in the Twilight Zone. Episode number 10 is very interesting, and it's called Blurry Man. This episode actually starts out with Seth Rogen playing a writer named Adam Wegman. Adam is struggling to figure out how to write the story about the end of the world. Jordan Peele comes in to narrate the episode. This is where we actually see Jordan Peele break character as the narrator as he's doing the intro, and he stops and he says, "We can do a lot better with this intro. This is not what we want to say. This is not what we're trying to project that this episode means." It is very soon that we see that we're in a soundstage and that an episode of the Twilight Zone television show is being filmed. So we got a sound crew all around, lights, we can see the sets. Jordan Peele's there, he's reading off the cue cards. And this is where we learn this episode is not about Seth Rogen at all playing Adam Wegman. It's about Sophie Gleason, who is a writer. Now, Sophie is played by Zazie Beetz, or is it Zazie? I'm gonna go with Zazie Beetz, but you would know her from Deadpool 2. She played Domino. She's a writer that's struggling within herself. She claims that she knows what the Twilight Zone is about. She knows the history of the Twilight Zone. She knows what it's about, so she feels that there's nothing that she can be told. Even though Sophie might know the concept of the Twilight Zone, she's struggling to connect to it on the deeper level. So throughout the episode, she's being chased by a very blurry figure, this blurry man that keeps popping up that we see has been in the other episodes of this season of the Twilight Zone 2019. And now he's chasing Sophie. The faceless, blurry figure is chasing her all throughout the set, and no one can see Sophie and no one else can see this blurry figure. The cameo that's revealed in this episode blew my mind. I wasn't expecting that, and this episode was the perfect way to end this season. I think it was well done. I love the meta-ness of it. I love the concept within the concept within the concept, the self-awareness there. If I was to grade this season of the Twilight Zone, and 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, what would I give it? A 7 out of 10. I think it's great. I think the episodes are fantastic. You can actually watch all 10 episodes in black and white. If you want that classic feel to it, it's available for you to be able to do so. I think that's very cool. I think that's a very cool fan service and a very cool nod to the original fans and to the writers and creators of the Twilight Zone. And that's something that you don't necessarily see anymore. So I'm glad that they did that. If you do check it out, let me know what you think, please. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what episodes were your favorites, which ones you liked, which ones you didn't like. Or if you just didn't like the show in general, please let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. As always, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. Thank you, thank you, thank you for letting me talk to you about these things that I love. Thank you for lending me your ears. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. As always, please be safe and careful. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you soon.